The initial diagnosis that Philip had, which, as Philip has said, is a very poor prognosis, indicated that the tumour was very, very large and that it would be a very, very difficult resection, and he may, in fact, lose his entire stomach, which is a very difficult situation because you have to be fed through a gastric tube, and quality of life is very poor. Philip's subsequent surgeon who did resect the tumour found quite a different situation. What was different between the original scope and the second scope that Philip had just prior to surgery was that, I'm vague on the period of time, but I think it was at least a couple of weeks, Philip intensively meditated, and I mean intensively, and Philip had a very happy ability to just go into a deep meditation without any real struggle. And I remember that the surgeon came out from the scope and he was shaking his head like this. And he said, "Kaylene, I don't understand what I've just seen." And I said, "What do you mean, Chris?" He said, "The tumour is quite small." And I smiled and I said, "Well, Chris, I think doctors underestimate the power of the mind, because Philip, for the period between the initial scope and today, has intensively meditated, and I believe in actual fact that he could eliminate the tumour." And Chris said, "Well, Kaylene, I don't know what Philip's done, but he's done something, and that tumour is much, 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 much smaller, and it changes how we will operate significantly." So instead of Philip having to lose his entire stomach, he was able to have what they call a partial gastrectomy, and that meant that he wouldn't have to have a gastric tube. I actually tried to encourage Philip to hold off the surgery because I felt he was able to move to the absolute eradication of the tumour. As a cancer patient, he was at a point though where he wanted to have that removed, and I respected that completely. But that was clear medical and scientific evidence of what Philip had been able to do in reducing that tumour size dramatically. Philip and I chose to do a healthy living course with the Gawler Foundation, and that gave me great insight into the power of the mind. I did not doubt it. I was quite a spiritual person. I'd gone through my own life journey that had meant that I was a different person at the time of the diagnosis than I would have been 5 years before. But that course that we did just reinforced to me how important the carer's mind needs to sincerely believe in that mental journey. And for me, that spiritual aspect for me was very, very important indeed. And whenever I would ever have any dark thoughts, I would use what I would call my white light, and I would visualise the white light removing those negative thoughts from my mind. It was very powerful for me.